Welcome back. Welcome to the day 2 of the workshop. We of late started considering this portion is the most important portion of the workshop. So far, whatever we have discussed is a kind of prescriptive. Without much of deeper understanding also, the recommendations can be executed. Without your deeper understanding, also those recommendations can be executed, implemented, and eventually you may end up identifying some or other benefits also out of it. But if we want to have a sustenance of our homeostasis and the experience of the natural life, then we need to dive deep into the mind and the concepts of mind and the aspects of mind. Unless understood with inquiring mind, it cannot be implemented. It cannot be implemented because we undergo a lot of conditioning due to a lot of ideated emotions. We will understand these terms actually if you are uncomfortable with ideated emotion, these kind of terms, but definitely these will be unfolded during this sessions of mind. But unless we clarify these conditioning minds, we cannot reap the benefit of end of suffering. If we are really interested in end of suffering and going further deeper in inquiring and sinking the nature and life both, we need to unfold these facts of mind. So let's start our journey today. The topics on mind are named under one umbrella of unity and fragmentation. As we started with our journey with movement and stagnation, we are continuing today with unity and fragmentation. The second principle in pure nature cure is the law of unity. The first principle is the voice of the organism, which you have touched upon. We'll dive deeper into that today again. But the second principle is the law of unity. Unless we identify with the unity of this universe, we'll not be able to be in sync with the nature. That's the proposal. Now, how does that happen? The fragmentation, how does it happen? See, any aspect of life, when we observe and get into a personal customized conclusion, any aspect of your life, anything, be it food, be it relationship, be it overall mental health or mental understanding of anything, if we get into a rigid, personal, customized conclusion, that time we fragment ourselves from the whole truth. Because this thing is very important. When we observe a truth, we only observe a part of truth. The whole truth can never be reached by us. Now, furthermore, when we observe a part of truth, we interpret it according to our condition, according to our conditioning, and according to our interpretation. So, the ultimate value that we bring in is just interpretation of a partial truth. So, let's try and understand this aspect closely, that the whole truth is something else. Now, we are concluding on a personal basis, customizing it with our interpretation. So, what we are doing here is we are considering interpretation of a part of truth as the whole truth when we go into a rigid conclusion. And this rigid conclusion is commonly known as belief. This rigid conclusion is commonly known as belief. So you'll understand belief at the deeper level in a while. But whenever we have a strong belief of anything, whenever we have a strong belief of anything, we fragment ourselves from the whole truth, because the whole truth is ever unknown. We cannot reach to the truth, and we start considering interpretation of a part of the truth. So this is not even a part of the truth. This is interpretation of a part of the truth, which we consider as a belief, is absolutely contradictory to the whole truth. So this is what is the unity and fragmentation. Whenever we disjoint ourselves with our own conclusions, we actually go away from the unity. So we'll dive deep into this aspect and connect this with the energy conservation, because that's a final goal of understanding. Yeah, it is contradictory, Shilpi, because we started considering that this is the truth. When it becomes a belief, that means it is non-negotiable. Beliefs are non-negotiable. If you are identifying that, okay, I'm flexible, then it is not a belief. You cannot claim this as a belief. Belief is a non-negotiable rigidity, that yes, this is my belief. So that means I started considering one customized interpretation of a part of the truth as the whole truth. Are we able to connect this? Anybody who is not able to connect that what is being proposed is something I'm not able to connect. Anyone?
Sir, if it can be explained by some example, it will be easier to understand.
Yeah. Going forward, there are a lot of examples coming in. Going forward. Yeah. Thank you. Right. So when we last time compared nature and life under the spectrum, we identified the density, heat, and speed. Now we can identify this connection of efficiency, which is the homeostasis. Ultimate goal is the homeostasis, and with the conservation of energy and the symmetry that we see around in the nature is the outcome of this homeostasis and conservation. Symmetry, the shape of the mountain, the homeostasis on the liquid surface, we discussed those. So those symmetrical aspects are outcome of the conservation for the maintenance of homeostasis. Now in life, we have this health or the organic longevity as the homeostasis, equivalent to the homeostasis, the first one. And for the conservation, we have the tool called the voice of the organism. And for the symmetry, we have this realization of the law of unity, that we are a part of the bigger chunk of the truth. So the more we contradict and fragment ourselves, we go away from this bigger chunk and we disjoint from the unity of the universe. Now, all these things are connected to organism's growth. Why at all organism responds the way it responds? It is for the purpose of ongoing growth. It's a programmatic aspect of growth. The physical growth is easily identifiable from small to big. Everybody gets bigger in terms of the growth. And finally, it's a maintenance of the physical existence. Now, after the physical growth, optimum physical growth attained, the overall growth doesn't stop, because the ongoing parallel growth is the cognitive growth. The cognitive growth means the mental growth. Today's topic is the mind. So the mental growth is something which is realized through the understanding, to the depth of understanding. It is not similar to the physical growth from small to big, easily identifiable. But here the identification of the growth happens in the deepening of the understanding. And deepening of the understanding happens when we end up conserving in the formation of mind. When we end up conserving our vitality in the formation of mind. Now the question comes, how the mind forms. The question comes how the mind forms and how mind gets burdened and lose the conservation of energy. Let's try and identify those aspects. Now, under the mind matters, we have these three factors. One is the mindfulness. There we'll try and understand how mind gets formed and how mind gets burdened. Then we'll deep dive into the rational understanding and we'll try and understand what is the natural aspect of rational understanding. Rational understanding as it is being proposed, as it is going to be proposed, as it is not an opinion. It's a fact identification, identifying the natural flow of progression in terms of our existence and the execution. Existence of three layers, physical, physiological, and psychological, and execution of action, feeling, and thinking, respectively. So we'll dive deeper into that aspect. Finally, we'll try and explore the rationals of relations, because without relation, life is void. So we need to identify the rationals of relations, and also in terms of the relation, there are sexual misunderstandings, sexual perversion, sexual irrationality. So we need to demystify those irrationality under the light of energy conservation. So let's start with the mind formation. This particular slide will try and explain how mind gets formed. Now here you see, we have these 5 primary elements as information: light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. These 5 information are received through our 5 sense organs, which are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, respectively. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, respectively. So when these are received through our doors of senses, this layer is a physical layer. This layer is a physical layer. This interaction with the external information, when we receive, that's a physical interaction, physical confrontation. And the moment this physical confrontation happens, there is some change at the chemical layer, at the physiological layer. We call that as a body sensation or physiological sensation. This is called body sensation or physiological sensation. So the moment light hits the eyes, there is a change in the chemical. We may like the light which is entering the eyes, or we may not. So all in all, we'll have some or other body sensation with this confrontation of the physical information. Now, when we have this sensation graduates as a perception. The sensation graduates as perception within us, which is formless and psychological. It happens through the neural impulses. It's absolutely formless, but it gives a sense of understanding, sense of deepening of the understanding with each bits and pieces of perception. And these perceptions cumulatively is called mind. So the mind is nothing but accumulation of these all perceptions, which are ongoing since the conception and get strengthened after the birth. So perceptions naturally are awareness-based memory, and it brings some projection of the future also. Like for an example, if I touch fire, then I get an experience that fire is hotter than the normal. and that brings an awareness-based memory within me. Next time when I see fire, I already identify it is not a new experience anymore, and I project the past for the future, and I don't touch fire. So this is a natural response that we all see within us, and that's how the mind gets formed. Up to here, up to the formation of mind, what we see, this is a natural formation. Up to here, there is no unnatural things. Now the unnatural thing starts when we actually get into some or other beliefs in terms of imagination or assumption. When we start imagining something as and start concluding it, that this is the end of it. Fire means it will be burning. Then if that kind of belief we get into, then we will not be able to explore the beauty of the fire also, the usability of the fire also is there. So belief would restrict us to explore further. So now the imagination and assumption, when it starts building up, what happens? It actually forms body sensation directly. So see the new edition of this violet dotted arrow on the slide, this one, where from the imagination and assumption, the body sensations are arising directly. So there is no real entry in terms of light, sound, smell, taste, and touch, or in their combination, which is a physical entry. And from the physical entry, the graduation happens through the sensation and through the perception. That's a natural flow. But here what we see, due to the beliefs of imagination and assumption, there is a direct entry of body sensation from nowhere, because the imagination and assumptions are formless. Those cannot be claimed as truth, as the existence. But we started considering that as truth. So here what is happening, that we started identifying something which is not existing as existing. Now what happens when there is a body sensation out of this? Body sensation is a form. It's an existence for me. So the moment the body sensation occurs, we end up confirming and authenticating those imagination and assumption as truth. This is the confusion. And it happens whenever we stop inquiring. Whenever we stop inquiring any kind of thought, imagination, and assumption coming to our mind, and without inquiring, without questioning, without doubting, we started accepting it blindly, and it changes the chemical within me. And the moment the chemical is changed, it is a truth for me. It is no more an imagination. No matter others are not able to perceive it, but I start considering this as truth because it is being experienced within the body. And it gets into the loop. Because sensation will always be graduating as perception. The moment there is a sensation, there is a chemical change in the body, within the body, there will be a perception for sure, identifying the pleasure and pain and the acceptance and the rejection decisions. Those are the perceptory aspect, which will be a progressive natural graduation of sensation. And since there is a perception, the mind will be generating further. So now what we see, the mind is forming a body, and body as it is will be forming mind. So there will be an unending loop which will be overloading and burdening the mind. And it is a self-sustaining thing. We don't need any physical experience for that. In the morning, Shilpi was asking about the materialistic aspect. We removed that word materialistic because that may confine our progression of the inquiry. But it is a fact of matter that we are matter-driven. If we are naturally driven, then we are matter-driven. Now here the imagination becomes a matter within, and that matter transport further into the imagination, strengthen the imagination, and get looped. So there comes the burdening of the mind on its own, and all of our anxieties, all of our arrogance, all of our sufferings are due to this particular loop that we form, and that happens when we stop inquiring, stop questioning. So questioning doesn't mean that we need to question the outside world first. We need to start with questioning my own belief, my own conditioning. Unless I start questioning my conditioning, I cannot deepen my furtherance in the cognitive area or cognitive domain. So if we want to have a deepened growth of the cognition, then we have to pick up the pattern of inquiry for our conditioning to start with. Whatever the belief that we do have, unless we process it, unless we question it, it will not going to get dissolved. Unless it dissolves, we cannot uncage our vitality, because the vitality, most of the vitalities are zapped here. You try to identify the loop here, the loop, the vicious cycle that is getting formed on its own within. We don't need any external change. Here, the internal things are zapping my own vitality, and we are left out with a very small portion of vitality out of this complete vicious cycle. So the mindfulness is a state of the mind of an individual which is only driven by the physical experience. The mindfulness, if we would like to define under the light of vitality conservation, then the vitality conservation as far as the mind is concerned can be possible when it is matter driven. Matter driven means physical experience driven. Physical experience driven. So mindfulness, as it is proposed, the state of the mind of an individual which is only driven by the physical experience. Open to the forum for the Q&A. Yes, Rashi.
Yeah, so so if you go to the previous slide,
yes,
and forget that, you know, there is this dotted line that you had made,
yes,
through imagination and assumption.
If we forget that,
yeah, if we forget that,
right,
then are we zapping our energy? So
no, then this
no.
imagination and assumptions are not there.
So basically, if I can you know, extrapolate, is this imagination actually causing the black bar?
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes.
And if we forget this part, the mind, the
so forgetting
line,
can be possible only through the inquiry. Otherwise,
of course.
Right, yeah.
So so for like, you know, when we are young, I think we don't have that imagination and, you know, mind driven.
Case to case basis, because the conditioning starts from the conception only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So even
your mother's
infants...
imagination impacts your imaginations to start with.
So is there any like genetic abnormality where this thing is impaired?
It can be transferred. It can be transferred, but it can be again dissolved also with the individual initiative. So we get conditioned because of our parental imagination, a parental habit of assumption. But again, the moment we become conscious about it, we execute our inquiry, we can dissolve it.
So in which case, all the animals must be having no black bar, right?
Very least, because their neural capability doesn't have that much of imagination and assumption. The stories that we speak to tell our children are our imagination. They don't have. Animal kingdom do not have those kind of imagination and assumption as in our stories. We say, they don't have that kind of neural capability.
And what if a person is neurologically compromised?
Yes,
where the
that's
person
an unfortunate
loses.
State. Yeah. That's an
and in that case, that person will also not have that black bar, is it?
I can't say because it has to be explored specifically case to case basis because
Okay.
um, imagination and assumption are actually these start with copying, you know. So even you don't have neurological strength to create your own imagination, you end up copying lot of imagination, and that comes with lot of stimulations and separations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Rohit, you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right time for some diagnostic examples, or so can I share some the problem I'm facing right now? Is it
Please go ahead.
related to, yeah, so I can. Okay,
Yeah.
so the thing is that based on all the information that I am gathering from of course social media and search engines and people I talk to and hear from, so I am kind of have developed a kind of a belief, so to say, that the pharmaceutical industry is kind of making this pandemic kind of a profiteering mechanism, and also the kind of medicines or vaccines they are prescribing or they are inventing, they are kind of making the humanity more sick. And so obviously this information is, I do not have the physical kind
Facts.
of facts with me, because everything is coming through media only, because there's no way for me to be around the world, because I am kind of stuck in a city where I cannot even move. So how can all my belief, even if I try to, I have to make a decision based on the belief only, right, and not based on physical facts, because there's no way to, the light, sound, smells, taste and touch, any of these organs are not able to get me I'm not sure whether the information coming to them is actually correct or not. So what is the way out?
Yeah. So first of all, for the decision, we need to actually understand the emergence of the decision rather than planning for the decision, which will actually explore going forward, the emergence of decision. Okay. But here the facts that you are bringing, the conspiracy. Now, conspiracy can be a fact. It is undeniable. Can be a fact that there are conspiracies. But on the flip side, there could be non-conspiracies also exist in the medical industry. In this particular group itself, there are 3-4 people, those who are conventional medical practitioners, but they choose not to go in the flow of that pharmaceutical industry, but they have chosen the natural, rational understandings of nature. So we cannot blindly stamp that this medical professionals means conspirators, number one. So both the types of things are there. Now, at the deeper level, those who are conspiring, what is the reason they are doing so? If we need to explore, then we'll find the power or the money are two reasons for which they are doing this.
Yes.
Right? Now, at the deeper layer of the rational understanding, we identify that these two are itself ideas. There is no physical fact in this. What is power? You cannot show. It's just an imagination proposal of human being, that this is called, if you become this, then it is a powerful position. These are just ideated proposals. There is no fact in this itself. Do you understand this?
Power, I think, so somehow I can relate that what is power is that, and because to some extent I have enjoyed it in some role at some point in time in my life. So I think it is physically relatable, because when you have power, people kind of listen to you, and you kind of derive pleasure out of it, that people to you, whatever you are saying is kind of adhered to more or less. So it does convert into a physical pleasure.
Amazing. Thanks for bringing this, Rohit. So here, what you are describing is a stimulation of pleasure. Okay. Because what matters is your inner processing. When people listen to you, how do you process it? Do you process it as a support of your own inquiry, or you just enjoy being applauded? If you are enjoying the second aspect, then it is just stimulation. It is not deepening of your cognitive growth. When people join with you, in the process of inquiry and you start inquiring together and go deep into the aspects of cognitive growth, that is quite in sync with the nature. But
Okay.
when you start identifying the second one, that if people are supporting, that itself is a great achievement for me. Not my cognitive growth with the contribution of the inquiry of the people and going forward and forward. It is not a blind acceptance of my proposal, but the interaction of the proposal with the people and them coming. It is not about supporting me, but the proposal which are rational. If we go in that direction of leadership, are you able to understand this?
Okay. Yes. Then it becomes.
Then it becomes a
leadership
rational.
with a purpose. Leadership with a purpose.
Yes. So it is not about you, but the rational proposals which are coming together. And any rational proposal doesn't have any ownership. If you are talking sense rationally, then it is not Rohit's word or Kalyan's word. It is the rational fact that we are identifying together. So if we go in depth of it, then we'll find that the conspirators are confused at the first place. So
but they are affecting my life, na? So they are confused. That is fine. If they limited it to themselves, that was fine. But they are using me and many such people around the world to achieve that. And as an effect of that, they are kind of maybe affecting the quality.
That's another layer of imagination, Rohit. That's another layer of imagination. If we go deeper, then we'll find that nobody can affect my life.
Okay.
We can dive deeper into that. And we are diving together.
Sure.
So let's take up in a while again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Preeti.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask that, is this how the positive thinking or the manifestation philosophy works? Because, if the imagination is feeding my body and then the body is again feeding the imagination. And if that is correct, I mean, it's a system by itself, but how is it correct when you're using it to let's say I'm imagining eating raw food and then like if I'm using it for the good things, the system is correct, but if I'm using it for the negative things, the system is wrong.
Right. So here what we need to understand, what Preeti is trying to ask is the positive affirmation or the visualization, the impact of visualization. When we imagine something quote unquote positive and have some body sensation and lead ourselves to bring that particular imagination into reality. So we imagine ourselves of achieving something, some XYZ, any goal you can consider, cracking an examination or buying a new car or having a great job and all the stuff. When we crack that through this affirmation, then what it is, and we're going to explore that in a while when we'll dive deep into the rational understanding. Can we hold this for some time, Preeti, when we explore action, feeling, and thinking and its impact?
Sure.
Right. So we have another 1 minute. If we have anything pertaining to this particular slide to explain, then we can take up those. Otherwise, we'll take a break and join with a 5 minutes of silence. Anyone who is having
Yes,
a short? Yes, Meghna. Quick question.
I want to understand difference between mindfulness and meditation. If you will cover it later, then I can
wait. We will cover it later, but I'll touch upon since you raised this aspect. So when we talk about meditation, if meditation becomes a breathing exercise kind of 1 hour of practice, then it is the overload on the vitality, not the relaxation on the vitality. Now, if we are talking about a consistent inquiring approach as meditation, which becomes our life, then we are talking about that meditation, which is synonymous to the mindfulness. And mindfulness, as we proposed, that the